Hello, Henry County teachers. This morning we are going to learn how to do a Google Classroom off the chain offline mode. Okay, so we're going to do two parts. We're going to show you how to create the lesson, and then we're also going to show you as a student how they would use it in offline mode. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create our lesson that will be eventually used in the offline mode. Of course, you just go to create. We're going to do an assignment, and we're just going to call this offline test. We're going to add, and the first thing we're going to do is add a document. This is a really important step because what we're going to do is if they're going to use it in offline mode, and probably a lot of you do this anyway, but if you don't, you need to do it this way. Basically, I'm inserting this document. Now here, what we want to do is you want to make sure you click make a copy for each student. If you don't, it won't work. They won't be able to use it in offline mode. So that is muy importante. So click on make copy for each student.
Did you go to Spanish mode there?
My bad. All right, back into English, but make a copy for each student, right? So you click there. And we're just pretending like we're making a typical assignment, and there's a lot of different ways that y'all do that. So there's a document right there. The other thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and make a video file available. So we're going to go ahead and link to a file. I've already prepared one per the other video that we showed how to go ahead and get a video onto your local computer. So that's what I'm going to use for my video. We're also going to use a website link, and so I'm going to use this as my website link. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do is let's add a PDF file. So I haven't uploaded it yet. Let's use this as a test one. Okay, so in our assignment, we have a lot of different mediums and stuff like that, which I feel like based on classrooms we've seen from teachers, these would be the four major ways that you would try to instruct a student. So we're going to go ahead.
Now, it's important to say here, the thing about Google in offline mode is it works easy peasy if it's a Google Doc or a slide, right?
Correct.
But the reason you added these files is to show the difference between like a Google Doc or a Google slide versus a PDF or a video file. Because why did we do that?
Well, because basically kids that don't have internet, it's handled differently. And so we'll show you in the next part of the video as a student what it looks like and how they make a Google Classroom assignment work in offline mode. And so that's why we're using all these different types of mediums, whether it's an actual Google document, which like you said, those are easy peasy, but the videos, whether it's a website or a PDF, we're just going to show you how students, what they'll have to do to be able to use that if they don't have internet access. So we'll move on to the student part right now. I'm just going to assign this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pretend that we're a student and we need to get the documents so that we can use them in offline mode at some point. So right now we're assuming they're connected to Wi-Fi somewhere and they're going to access your Google Classroom in the assignment. Okay, so first thing we want to do is just to get the sync up and going. I would recommend coming in and launching Google Drive because it takes it a minute, we found, for it to sync, so we'll just let that be going in the background. The next step is they need to go into their local file, the local drive here, and they're going to want to create folders for each one of your assignments. Obviously, we only have one today, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it offline test. Okay. Now, we will go ahead, we're going to open up a new tab, and we're going to go ahead and go to Classroom so we can get to the assignment. And we'll go to your classroom that you've created, and here is the offline test that assignment that we created. So here are all the 4 different types of media. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the Google Docs. We're going to open it, and it will take it a second, but up here you're going to see where it says document status. This document is now ready for offline use. So the student may need to leave this tab open while it syncs, while they're doing a few of the other tasks, trying to get the other information for this assignment. So we'll leave that going. The next thing, let's go ahead and download the video. So as the video pops up over here in the right corner, you're going to see the download icon. We'll click that, and it'll start to download in the background, as you can see. Depending on the file, it'll take a little bit longer. So that one's done now. The next part that we want to grab is we're going to grab the PDF. This is just a little tricky on how they need to do it, because here it is, but we need to save a local copy to their drive, of course, for offline use. So we're actually going to click on the print icon. When it comes up, now it's going to give us the option to download this to our local Chromebook. So we're going to click on it, and we're just going to call it offline test. And that's the name of that document. The next thing we're going to want to do is...
Let me pause you for a second, Dwayne, and just take a moment to explain that, as you can see, Google Classroom does work in offline mode, but there's a lot of extra steps. It's not just an automatic sync because you've made an assignment. If you make an assignment that has a video or a PDF or something that isn't a Google Doc or a Google Slide, when the student is in offline mode, it does not know to automatically sync these things, and that's why we're making a copy. Is that fair?
So the next thing we're going to do is, as a teacher, you've created a web link. Well, obviously, when they're offline, how are they going to have access to it? So what we're going to do...
And by that, you mean there's a web page that you want to share with your students as part of a lesson.
Exactly.
So how do you share that when the kid's offline?
Exactly.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've clicked on the link, and it's popped this up. Obviously,
this is the page you would want to share.
Correct.
As part of the lesson.
This is the page that we're wanting to share. There's everything there. So then what we're going to want to do is we're going to save the offline copy. So we come over here to the hamburger menu, click on it. We're going to go to More Tools, and we're going to do Save Page As. And when we click on it, it's going to pop it up, and it's going to ask us, where do we want to save it? Of course, we've got the folder over here, Offline Test. That's where we're going to save it. Hit the Save button. Now, when it gets done, we want to show in the folder, and we literally want to click on this link that is created, because when we do that, it's going to grab all of the graphics and other files that we need from that temporary link. And so as you can see, the web page looks pretty similar. There may be a few odd-end things that don't propagate in offline mode, but it should have everything. But you definitely have to click that link or it won't grab what it needs initially. So now we've had an opportunity to click on everything. We've downloaded it. Let me go back into this file folder. The other thing that you're going to want to do is everything originally has gone to this downloads folder. I would encourage the student to grab those, highlight them, and drag into that offline test folder. So now you'll see there's the PDF that you had originally set up. There is the video, and then here is the web page. Of course, the Google Doc is going to be available in the offline mode through their Google Drive folder. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and shut down the Chromebook, and we'll show you what it's like as a student when they get home and they don't have internet. So what we're going to do is the student's home, he doesn't have any Wi-Fi, and we're going to show you how to do that. The first thing, though, you need to make sure that the student is on Wi-Fi at some point with this Chromebook and logs in as themselves, because it creates a local profile. They cannot log into a profile at home until they've done it once on Wi-Fi. Okay, so this is assuming they've been at the school, they've already logged in as themselves once, and now they're home.
So, Dwayne, let me make sure I understand. At the very beginning of going into offline mode of Google, the student must log into the Chromebook the first time while at school?
Or on Wi-Fi somewhere. Correct?
While they have Wi-Fi, the student has to log in one time on the Chromebook.
Correct. And then it creates a local profile. It's kind of like a PC. You have to do the same thing. So now that the profile is already created, now what we're going to do is Chrome looks a little different, the Chromebook, and you're going to see sign in as an existing user. So I click on that, and I'm going to use my test account.
Because the student has logged into this Chromebook before to download the lessons.
Correct.
And now that we're in offline mode, we can log in as that student.
Correct. And so it'll begin the login process. Obviously, it's not going to have internet, and so you're not going to be able to go directly to the internet. But what we're going to do is we do have the other services available. So one of the things that we can do is, well, okay, so when we launch files, it's going to show Google Drive, okay? Under Google Drive, it's going to show the classrooms. Let me make this bigger. And we will see our test classroom.
There's a lot of classrooms there because we were experimenting, right?
Correct, yeah. So this is the offline dock that we had opened earlier. So we're going to launch it. Now, as the student needs to, they're going to be able to edit this dock offline, and then later it will sync. So anything that I type in here, this is another.
This is the student doing work in a document. So this could be a writing prompt, and this could be any type of homework that you've assigned, and then the student adds their work to it.
Exactly. So it may involve the files that we had actually downloaded earlier. They may have to watch the video before they could respond to that. So we'll just go over there and test some of those. So here's that offline test folder that we created, and here's the PDF that we saved. So they may have to go through and read this. So as you can see, it is available offline. So they read that, and then obviously they can come over here and respond to, whatever questions you had in this document there. Then they're ready to move on and watch the video.
So you're going back to your files folder?
Yep, going back to the file folder, we're going to watch the video that's now available offline. And here's the video that you would have saved. So they watch that, and now they come back and they can obviously respond to further questions and stuff there. And then the last thing was the website, which is probably the trickiest, but as long as they opened it, like we said earlier, when you click on the link, it should have all of the graphics.
It opens up Chrome just like a normal web page.
And there you go. Now, the difference is if there's a lot of links on these pages that the kids need to go to, you need to make sure you open those as the teacher and save, or they would have to open them and save them as well, each individual web page. So that's something to keep in mind, because the hyperlinks won't work unless you've already opened them.
Right. To say it another way, if that web page has hyperlinks that takes them other places, the teacher needs to make those separate links or pages as well. It's not smart enough to look at a web page and get all of the links off of that page. It'll have the graphics and the links will be there, but they won't function unless you also added those to your lesson.
Exactly. It'll grab all the text and everything. But if you needed that link to work in your lesson, you would need to click on it and make it a separate download for the students, or else when they click on it, it's not going to work. So just kind of keep that in mind. So as you can see, we were able to get all of those different types of documents, PDFs, web pages, and everything to work. But it just takes a little bit of time and effort. Once you've done it a few times, I assume it would be a little easier. But that would be the process to get it to work in offline mode. Then once you connect back online, this document would sync, and you would be able to then submit it through Google Classroom.
So when it comes to actually turning in the work, the student would have to be in Wi-Fi range again somewhere, not necessarily at the school. Go back into Google Classroom and then turn in that Word document as part of the product of homework.
Right, that would be the final step, correct?
All right. Anything else?
That's it.